Well, I wanted to. Do you have anything else other than what's in your agenda here, which I wanted to ask you a couple things about?
Um,
A couple additional things.
so for our last 15 minutes, I only have two brief things on my mind.
Okay.
So why don't you go first if you have anything else?
Well, I just wanted to comment very briefly on the psychedelic drug thing,
Hmm.
if it's worth talking about now or next week.
You want to do a little just speed run of what you've learned?
Well, the speed run is that you and I both read the book. It came out a couple of years ago. We talked about the rebirth of psychedelics.
Right, and for our audience, we're discussing Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind, which is about psychedelics.
Exactly. And he was right. He was right on the cusp, and started to write about the rebound of psychedelic drugs in a purposeful way, where it had been banned for years from any kind of research or medical use, and now they were finding some specific uses for it legitimately. And some places have done some evidence-based studies and looked into it carefully and have come up with some conclusions. But the research has been extremely weak. And the one point that I wanted to bring up is when we talked, it sounded like they were looking at, in particular, the ketamine, which is an anesthetic, was the one that was popping up in California and starting to be widely used, mostly for pain, and but also for depression and anxiety. And there are psychiatrists using it, charging enormous amounts of money and promising, to cure your long-term depression, things like that. But it's shifted a little bit more to psilocybin. Seems to be the drug that's being most researched right now and has the most efficacy. And for a number of reasons, but the research isn't clear, hasn't been fully published. But it's similar to LSD, but it doesn't last as long. The impact and effects are not as long. But some parts of the article reminded me of what we did as kids 30 years ago when we ran the Bad Trip program. I guess that's my main point. With not any knowledge of medicine or medical backgrounds, we had the idea that, 100 bad trips a night walking into an emergency ward is not a great thing. And the doctors wanted to do something about it. So they said, you guys know a lot more about this than we do. Can you come up with something? And that's when we established the Bad Trip program. And that tapped into a couple things that this article talked about. And, one is the setting. When somebody's tripping or having a bad trip, you don't bring them into a sterile environment. You want to bring them into a comfortable, relaxing place. Music and the choices of music and just make it a lot easier. And we did that. And we established a place in the hospital that didn't look hospital-like at all. And the idea of guides, having someone experienced in the hallucinogenic experience who would be with that person as a guide, because doctors don't have 6 or 7 or 8 hours to spend with the patient. So these are critical things that they need right now as they move forward.
Mm.
And they just talk about set and setting, and that's what we were doing. And they talk about that as being critically important. The set really being the person. What kind of person are you bringing into this experience? And there has to be some sort of screening, which we did also. We screened out people who were psychotic or who were mentally incompetent, didn't have the intelligence to move forward in a psychedelic experience. So those are just a couple of things. There were a myriad of things they did that we just did out of common sense and understanding the drug. Many of us having done it ourselves, that we incorporated into how we managed it. And now as they move forward in using it for treatment in mostly in hospital-based facilities, usually attached to a university, these are some of the techniques they are using. And I just found that fascinating that, 30 years ago we had a handle on this. And they're just reinventing the wheel. So,
Yeah, man, it's very bizarre to me, and it's something that came up in Pollan's book of just after Leary, how much taboo it was to even study,
yeah,
psychedelics, where it was seen as like some dirty hippie non-scientific shit. considering we'll research literally fucking everything else, like, on the planet, you know, from, like, insect reproductive habits to, like,
Yeah.
fucking whatever. It's just, like, we study everything under the fucking sun, so why not these really potent, powerful drugs? But I'd like to ask you if you have any thoughts on DMT.
Well, we can get into that a little bit more. I have thoughts about a lot of those. MDA is being used in the military, although they're not publishing a lot of their work, for PTSD with some success. Ketamine is being used with some success. And which one were you asking about?
DMT.
DMT, which is like MDMA. Is that the same thing?
Dihalomethatrenoline. I don't know. All I know is that you take it for like 10 minutes and, or the trip lasts for 10 minutes and you just blast off, and apparently everything is just, more real than realness. It's more familiar. It feels more whatever. I haven't experienced it myself, but I would like to one day.
Give it to me again, because that is the one I'm not familiar with that you mentioned.
Yeah, DMT. I once watched a documentary on it. I mean, many, like, almost 10 years ago. But the way they were describing it and the way my friends were describing it is just, it's one of those highs where you're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You're like unresponsive to the outside world on some level. I'm sure there are some people who have had DMT trips and can still perceive their, immediate settings, but for people who go, on a real, hard dose or whatever, they are just rocket shipped to the moon, and they see the clockwork elves, and fucking everything is time and space. I don't know. I couldn't really describe it accurately, but it's a hallucinogen that supposedly lasts only like 10 or 15 minutes, is super intense, but once it's over, you don't really have any, hangover effect beyond like kind of just, whoa, that was a little weird.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit. Okay?
Alright, we'll put it for next week or whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, there has to be a drug name attached to that. Like psilocybin is PCP.
Yeah, I'm probably butchering it, but I think it's like dihalomethamphetamine, something like that.
Methyl and a methamphetamine. I have that one on my list here. Could be that.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll put that off. I'll look into it a little bit more. But the magic mushrooms are the hot one, and that seems to be the first one that's going to be marketed in a commercial way, so let's see how they do it.
Yeah, I can't wait till they open up the shroom stores.
Yeah? Are they going to?
Probably never, but
Well,
maybe within my lifetime, I don't know.
The research is there.
Yeah.
The research is there now. Well, I got it right here, DMT. Wow, interesting. Common name, toad. And you're right, the drug name, this goes on forever. Dimethyltryptamine 5. Methanox and
This is why I could never get into science.
yeah, comes from, so this is strictly organic. Comes from the yopo tree. And two very long names to describe the seeds. There's the Colorado River toad, which is a virus-like substance, and the Sonoran desert toad. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Pollen did the second, the desert toad, and it was I remember just his description. It was just like, I am strapped to a rocket ship and I really want to get off it.
Yeah. And that was one of the other things they had, in this article, is the management of it. The guides have people that are good enough to know when the trip needs to end. And then what do you do? Well, we just told the nurses to shoot the people up with drugs and calm them down. But Yeah, it's part of the management. The management of the trip is huge, and it all depends on the guide. But we can talk more about it at another time, okay?
Yeah.
So what else did you want to talk about?
So there were two things, and we only have a few minutes left, so one of them was the Nemesis Theory, which we can, discuss next week. And I just wanted to close out with making fun of Rachel Levine and wondering if you've had the joy of watching her speak to Rand Paul and all that good stuff about how she supports, children getting fucking puberty blockers and, little kids should have the ability to fucking choose whatever they want to do, cut off their genitals, who cares? And, Rand Paul, whatever you think of him, there's a clip of him just saying, can we just agree that minors shouldn't, be allowed to do this, of their own volition? And she couldn't answer that. Just kept saying, well, it's a complicated, nuanced subject, and I would be happy to talk to you in your office, off camera, whatever. And she just kept repeating that like a robot.
Oh, I've seen Rachel Levine. Have you seen her?
Yeah, she's
Oh my God.
I think she's hot.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. When I heard her talk and then I saw her on TV, I almost fainted. I mean, I said, this cannot be a person. This has to be a caricature. Big wigs, everything. Because she is actually a hideous individual. Hard to look at. Harder to listen to. So that's going to take a long discussion, though. But it's going to become a huge issue in terms of parental rights and the kids themselves, and when should a kid, you start thinking about a kid changing kid sex. It's going to be very controversial.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't something I thought of initially, but my boy brought up this point that this is the kind of fucking thing that segues to allow fucking pedophilia in our society. And at first it's kind of like, whoa, like how do you make that connection? But for me it's just this: if we have established that a fucking 11, 9, however young can make these really consequential fucking choices, what's stopping them from, like, a sort of logical point going from there is like, kids should also have the autonomy to fuck whoever they want, including 50-year-olds. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't think it leads to anything good.
I mean, a lot of this is sort of circling back to use, what's her name there, the press secretary.
Psaki?
Oh my God. The redhead there who does instead of Biden doing his conferences, she does them every day.
Yeah.
What is her name?
Jen Psaki?
Jen Psaki, there it is, yeah. She used that term, circle back.
yeah.
Circles back to the organization NAMBLA, which came out in the 60s, which was basically, supporting sex with children.
Wait. Say that again?
NAMBLA, NAMBLA.
And it was, what is it?
The organization supporting adult sex.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a priest in this area, Father Shanley, who was very involved in the gay movement and very involved in that particular piece of it. And I had met him several times. He was a hero to the radical gay movement during the late 60s, in this area in particular.
What was his deal?
He was a priest, saw himself as an advocate, until he's convicted of, perversion, basically.
Regular old Catholic Church shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, amen.
But he had a following. I mean, people saw him as a spiritual sort of person. His word was God to a lot of people.
Well, I think that just goes to further proof that, humans are just mostly herd animals that just want to be led. They'd rather be safe than free.
Well, I would love to talk convened. And what was the other topic that we needed more discussion on?
Well, we don't even need to discuss it. I was just, it's something we can do next week, but, and long story short, to me, the Nemesis Complex is the idea that I have a real or perceived enemy out there, and that motivates me to, you know, work out harder, be more sharp, keep my mind sharp, read more, you know, just kind of just have my shit together overall, you know. And we can discuss it more lately and why it's come up and such, but, you know, I think hatred can be a wonderful motivator.
I think so too. Did you come up with this term on your own?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear more about it. And I would think the audience would too. It's called, in your mind, your formulation is to call it the Nemesis Complex.
Right, where I have a nemesis out there, and that has a profound impact on how I live my life.
Excellent. Let's make that the top item next week, okay?
Alright, sounds good, homie.
Yeah, I love the music. It's been great. You've been putting together.
Oh, the covers, you like them?
Yeah, your choice of covers has been excellent.
Yeah, I haven't sent you everything, so you might retract that statement, but
Okay.
don't worry, I'll only send you, you know, some classic rock shit or alt rock shit, none of the shit.
Well, that totally is classic rock, so.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I like the other stuff too.
Yep.
Quite a bit, actually.
The Queens of the Stone Age and all the Chili Peppers and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
big. I like those boys too.
Yeah, you did a great job on that Chili Pepper song.
Oh yeah, I sent it to Tori, but she said, you know, I asked her, and this isn't the first time I've sent her a cover and be like, just be honest, does this suck or not? And she always dodges the question. She said for that one, oh, it looked like you had a lot of fun making it, but it's really not my kind of tune. And I'm like, Chili Peppers, fuck you.
Right, yeah.
To be fair, Parallel Universe is kind of a more metally song. It's just a little heavier, but whatever.
Is that because she's a female?
I don't know.
Music is more appealing to males?
Well, I think Red Hot Chili Peppers, most of their songs, kind of a universal appeal and a lot of shit that, you know, really gets the chick swooning, but they have a few songs, like Parallel Universe or Fight Like a Brave that are a little more, you know, I could see guys getting behind a little more.
Okay. What is the practice? The practice of, I want to say sangria. I don't do no. Santeria?
What are you talking about?
It's a religious practice where they sacrifice chickens.
Oh, well,
Chili Peppers has it in one of their songs.
huh. Well, I do a blood ritual before all my covers, and they turn out
good.
better.
Yeah, if you listen to some of their songs, my voice is hoarse as hell. It says, we don't got no Santeria. That sounds familiar?
Oh yeah, I ain't got no crystal ball.
That's it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, Santeria.
Yeah, I'll add it to my playlist.
Okay.
That's Sublime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's Sublime, right?
yeah.
Whose lead singer, I think, died almost immediately after their success, but...
I don't know nothing about that, but that's a bummer.
Yeah, but the song is good.
Yeah.
Alright.
All right, Bob.
Talk to you later, man.
It was good talking with you. I'll hit you next week.
Good talking with you.
All right, bye.